reviews, reviews, reviews. When you're speaking, you're selling. When your customers are telling the world that you do a good job, you have validation.
Welcome back to another Contractor Academy session. Today, I'm here with Brian Javeline. Brian, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Mark. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So for those of you that do not know Brian, well, Brian's a president and co-founder of My Online Toolbox. He's been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. He's written for Fast Company, and he has the opportunity to speak frequently at many industry events and conferences. And very often, Brian, the core of your talks are around marketing and how to grow business. So it's a pleasure to have you in the Academy. We're very excited for what you're going to share with us today. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of people throw around terms like, marketing, SEO, Facebook, Google, pay-per-click. It's kind of all over the map for some people. And I think today with your talk titled Marketing Basics, Connecting All the Dots for More Quality Leads, I feel like you're going to help kind of hone in on what all this stuff means and really get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely, Mark. That's what I find repetitively in the industry is too many people choose an individual topic and they isolate that topic and think of it as marketing as a whole, not realizing the vast majority of the topics all come together to embrace marketing as a whole. And that's what I'm going to do today to have people see a much bigger picture.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll hand it over to you, Brian. Feel free to share your screen. I know you got a nice presentation lined up, and let's get into it.
Okay. Let me get my desktop going. Again, my name is Brian Javeline of My Online Toolbox, and today we're supporting the efforts of the Contractor Success Academy, specifically helping everybody go to learn how to build the legacies of their business. Today's specific segment is marketing basics and connecting all the dots for more quality leads. I can't overemphasize the words more and quality and not just leads. Too many people look at their life based on how many leads they can get. We prefer to have you take a step back and focus in on getting less leads, but having more quality with those leads, which tend to be better prospects, which always tend to become better customers. So where we have to begin, I'll give a very, very quick background for myself and the company. My Online Toolbox specifically targets the construction industry, new home building, remodeling, services, with an objective of helping you grow your business with more quality leads. We target marketing and SEO education where you understand the basics relating to these topics, as well as a strategy on how to implement. We've won various different awards over the last couple of years. All of this is on our website. And from here, in addition to the introduction that Mark gave, we're going to get right into the meat of it. So this aspect of this presentation is going to be covering a tremendous number of topics in a short amount of time, starting with what is the best time to begin your planning for marketing, what types of companies are impacted for getting more quality leads, what is the most critical aspect when creating a marketing plan, making sure you understand that the image you project is simply just a start. Content is king, but what specifically matters when people say that, showing examples of SEO and eliminating the mysteries, and if content is king, what is queen? What's the second thing you should be focusing in on? How to measure results, but also avoid analysis paralysis. What is the critical design strategy when implementing all of these individual topics? What should you not do? That's a very big topic because many people are being guided into what to do and no one tells them what not to do. We're going to cover that quickly. And also straddling between paid marketing and free marketing. They are two independent topics that support one another, but they're independent of one another. And then coming back to the best time to plan part two. So to begin, the most important topic in this entire webinar pertaining to marketing is everything you began doing yesterday will be impacting you sometime between next week, next month, next quarter, and next year. Marketing is not a topic where we wake up in the morning and say, let's start discussing a topic at 9 o'clock in the morning and perceive that there's going to be a result by the end of the day or the end of the week. A lot of times people skip marketing altogether and kind of address it when things start to slow down or when they have available time. And really what happens is you need to right now, and this is the summer, starting at the summer of 2019, is realize whatever topic I may stimulate to think about today, if you start today, the impact of those decisions won't be kicking in to somewhere between the end of this month, the end of the summer, or potentially at the beginning of next year, depending on the effort and the cost that you put towards implementing whatever the topic or topics may be. So we always remind people that if there's something on your mind pertaining to marketing, make sure you started yesterday in order to cover for the typical delays that people have in their decisions to starting tomorrow or the next day. What types of companies? We're talking about remodelers, window manufacturers and installers, roofers, new home builders, interior painters, and even basement renovations. There's no one particular segment that does better than the other. The industry as a whole is completely behind the times when it comes to marketing. But that behind the times happens to be a benefit and an opportunity for you. Without getting into the lead generation companies now, we all know every single person who may be listening to this presentation gets bombarded by lead generation companies, either sending emails or making phone calls and attempting to sell you leads. I want you to leverage those interruptions from a positive perspective and realize those lead generation companies are aware that less than 10% of the entire industry is able to be found online. So 90% of the opportunity is in your court to be able to say, do I want to buy leads from somebody who's selling them to me and anybody else who's willing to write a check? Or do I want to position for the 90% weakness in the industry to be able to capitalize on what these companies are selling to people like yourself? So keep in mind, the entire industry, from remodeling to construction, is completely ripe in opportunities to position yourself for more quality leads. But I want to make sure you're aware of something. The plan of what you're going to do is critical. A lot of times, too many people will say, hey, check out my website. And they have to realize that a website by itself is not marketing. It's the equivalent of attempting to debate whether somebody likes Microsoft Word or Google Docs over one another, but they don't know how to write a coherent sentence. If you don't know how to write, who cares what word processor you're using? It's the same like me, whether I happen to use Word or Google Docs or I use Chalk. Either way, people are going to read thousands. I'm going to get thousands of impressions because people like what I say and not necessarily what tool I utilize to put it all together. So please don't think of your website as marketing, as the marketing basics covering every single topic under the sun. Connecting the dots is critical. The website, as well as how it relates to your Google My Business account, how it connects to Facebook, and how it connects to YouTube, as well as some other topics, all come together. Yes, the website is a nucleus, but hands down, we obviously want to always get traffic to that site at one point. But there's so many other supporting elements that help bring it there, kind of like the many planets that surround the sun. Treat your website as the sun, but don't disregard all of those other segments that are going around to help make it shine even brighter. Always remember, too many developers, usually very smart, do not understand the industry. So just because a technical person tells you he's great at websites and he starts throwing all these buzzwords at you, that doesn't mean he understands the intricacies of the industry. And the problem is that since he doesn't understand the intricacies, many times the developers will simply do whatever you tell them to do. And the problem is, since too many of you don't really know what you want, and you definitely probably don't know the competitive advantages, you guide the programmer in a way where they simply want to do what you've told them to do. They won't challenge you when you're wrong, and then inadvertently, you're not going to even find out your mistakes for another 6 months to a year from now. So keep in mind that you want to associate with people that understand technology and marketing while simultaneously understanding the intricacies of this industry. My goal is to have you come in like a stealth bomber, where your competitors don't see you coming, not because you're a better contractor, not because you're bigger or cheaper or faster, but because you're positioning yourself to simply cosmetically and to the search engines. And remember, 90% of the people you're going up against are doing nothing. So if you think before you do, you're going to be able to have a long-term plan that is not just benefiting you next Friday, but it's benefiting you for many years out. And never forget, we're going to be combining many free topics and some paid topics to be part of this plan. Like I mentioned, image is just the start. So we could take any pictures we want. In this case, it's a residential remodeler and commercial remodeler. We also have here someone who does window restoration and preservation. We also have here a roofer, a high-end roofer. And you have to remember that the image is just a start. We want to be able to create an environment where your branding is a combination of explaining who you are, what you do, and where do you do it. And again, I'll repeat, who you are, what you do, and where do you do this? Because when done correctly, we're teaching both consumers and search engines the answers to the who, what, and where. Let me give you some great examples. When I say who we are, remember, most of you, and I have thousands of customers throughout the United States and other countries, have not seen me. Actually, most of the people here are seeing me for the first time. Thank you, Mark. But I tend to be a mystery. So does my company. But guess what? It doesn't matter because I produce and my company produces results. But more importantly, I don't walk into somebody's home. You do. You're showing up to somebody who they may know you, they may not know you, but there's a stigma of what do you represent when you say painting? What do you represent when you say, in this case, roofing? Well, I could tell you this. When this particular roofer is found and somebody bumps into this About Us page, have you ever seen like a roofing truck with the ladder on the top and the magnets upside down? This guy is in business to be in business. He's presenting a complete professional image of somebody who's not just a roofer, but he's a professional tradesman who happens to be a professional business. This one simple example just makes a point that if you went to go look at your website and quickly said, I don't know you, your neighbor doesn't know you, and quickly, what image do you present when somebody thinks of your business? Take a step back and try to think of that because it's a one-shot deal on making an impact on whether you're serious about the trade you're in or not. Same thing goes if you're a team. If you're more than a one-man show, make sure the world knows it because it's very important for people to see that if you happen to be more established and you have a company, let the world see that you're a team, immediately making that impact. Separately, and even better, is if you could put a voice behind your business. It's unbelievable how powerful it is when you have videos saying, hi, my name is, in this case, hi, I'm Brian of My Online Toolbox. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you're going to find hundreds of different subjects being covered while also hearing my voice and hearing my passion. You are a craftsman. Don't just look at yourself as just a roofer. Don't just look at yourself as just a painter, just a remodeler, or just a plumber. You're a craftsman that helps solve problems and also builds on dreams. If you turn it up a notch in how you express yourself, that will be another separator against you and the competitor when you're both trying to get into the same door. And then, of course, the holy grail of content is customers. If you're ever able to get a customer to be able to say they're happy with you and they're willing to get on video, take out that smartphone. There's ways to use a smartphone correctly. Of course, if it's a nice job and some big money's being spent, hire a videographer because guess what? We all go to bed at night, at least I do, even though I'm a hyper guy, I still do sleep. And at the same time, though, we all want that 1 o'clock in the morning, the 3 o'clock in the morning, the weekend person to be able to promote your business besides you talking. When you're talking, you're trying to sell. When customers are talking, they are qualifying you beyond an unimaginable amount of comparison where I'll sooner take 1 or 2 customers talking positively about me on a video than me even talking because they're helping set the stage of a nice, reputable business. And most of your competitors, again, won't be doing this. Now, when content is king, what do we do? And what I mean by that is I ask people all the time, what do you do? And the first thing they'll say is, hey, My Online Toolbox, I'm in construction, or I do residential remodeling. You have to remember that when people search, they're going to be searching for very specific topics. So in this particular case, just using this client that came up before in one of the home pages, is that even though he's a residential remodeler, we're specifically marketing towards kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, outdoor living, and flooring. But if you notice, there's no basements. Why? He doesn't want to do basements, just to make a point. So try to take a step back and remember that even though it's easy to generalize what you do, it's more important to be specific onto the types of opportunities that you're looking to get. Because if you're not specific and you get many of those tire kicking calls, the reason is you get the tire kicking call only because you've set yourself up to be the tire kicked. Again, when you get those calls and you're unhappy with them, don't blame the person who called you. Blame yourself for not setting the stage for getting the calls you want and eliminating the calls that you don't want. Let's even turn it up a notch. The vast majority of contractors, if they were going to do something correctly, they traditionally will do better at explaining what they do, but traditionally they'll do a terrible job at explaining where do they prefer to work. In this particular case, going back to the roofer, here are the 6 to 7 towns in, I think, Chicago that he likes to particularly work in. But if you go to map his business out, you will notice there's many other towns in between his physical location and some of the towns that he's going to. Why? Because of the economics of where the better customers are. So you don't want Google or any other, when I say Google, because they're king of the hill, they just represent the majority, but I don't want to eliminate things like Yahoo, Bing, and other search engines. But you don't want some search engine to look at you like a Chinese restaurant saying, great, here's my business, so let's draw a little 5-mile circle and say, well, this is where we think the company likes to go. We need to go out of our way to teach the engines, where do I prefer to go? So maybe Burridge, and I'm just making it up, I don't know the exact destination, but Burridge, I know, is much further away from this guy's business than where he's physically located. But in between, there's a tremendous number of homes that simply don't have the money that he's willing to drive the extra 10 minutes to get the much bigger jobs. So keep that in mind, to be very specific on attempting to focus in on what is the optimum locations that you would prefer to be found on. And if you don't talk about it, trust me again, those tire kicking leads are coming in only because the search engines are just randomly guessing what they think you want, but you've never told them what you definitely want. So now, how do we do this stuff? Remember I was saying SEO and the big mystery? Well, first of all, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And yes, there are many topics that for me, Mark, and other people that we're able to obviously turn it up a notch, but it's not difficult to understand the concepts. And before I hit the enter key to make a point, it's the equivalent of asking you, will you use your smartphone to map going from point A to point B with or without traffic conditions, but having no darn idea how the heck it all works? I will bet you the majority of you are plugging away point A to point B in your phone and you're so happy it pops up in the map, but you're just relying on it. So the key point is you're utilizing a feature on a phone and you really are just going by blind faith that all of it works because you have no idea how it's working. Maybe a couple of you do, but I'll bet you the vast majority have no idea. In this case, I want you to just embrace how simple the topics are. And the reason is why I want you to embrace it is to realize the vast majority of you are doing nothing. And even more of you, when you are doing something, are doing it wrong. So if you just take a step back to do it correctly, all of a sudden, when these quality leads come in, you'll realize that you created the environment to make it happen. So let's go right back to this guy, SFCC Remodeling. Forgive me, I'm going quick, so it just takes me a second. Here, on this page, even though I showed the cosmetics, up on the top left-hand corner of all your browsers, when you're clicking to open up more than one browser, is what's called a title tag. That title tag is the equivalent of a title on a book in a Barnes & Noble, where if the title is wrong, the chance of somebody walking up and down the aisle and stopping for a second is slim to none. It's the same thing for you when it comes to search engines. So in this particular case, when you land on his homepage at the highest level, he tells the world he is a Charlotte remodeling contractor and his name is SFCC Remodeling. Now, there's a lot to talk about this, and I could easily take up an hour talking about this one rectangle. I'm just going to go super quick. Title tags, bottom line, are among the many of the topics, but it's the most critical for a page-by-page basis. And on this, when you're looking at it, you have to remember when you go from page to page to page of your website, you have to have no duplicates. Why? Every individual page of your website has a different reason of why somebody would be there. It's unbelievable how many people have duplicates, which it confuses the search engines. So similar to like me being a soccer coach for many years, I tell people when in doubt, kick it out. It's the same thing in search engines. They don't know something, they just kick it out. You're not going to get a phone call by somebody in another country telling you why your stuff is not working. They simply just don't index you and move on. Same thing with the proper length of this, the ordering of words from left to right, as well as the branding. In this case, he's branding the name SFCC Remodeling in a very specific spot. All of these topics go hand in hand, but right now, for the rest of your life, whoever's listening to this, my instinct is you're going to slowly start putting your mouse over the browser top of your website and your competitors. It's a great way to find out what it is that they're trying to attract. Same thing goes with this meta description. You'll hear the buzzword, meta, meta, meta. It's nothing scary, and I'll just bring it up quickly to make a point. When somebody says, how does this stuff work? In this particular case, when you come to SFCC Remodeling and you find this result, first comes that title tag, then comes the website address bringing you to the home page. And right here, just highlighting it quickly, here's the title tag that you saw. But here, right below it, is the meta description where he has behind the scenes the human description of what he's trying to say if somebody sees this in search results. And really, when you look at it, it's actually beautiful because it's covering his name. It's covering the basics of what he wants people to see him doing in the Charlotte area of remodeling and commercial renovation. And he's giving the 4 key topics, all picked up by the search engines, showing his portfolio, his residential work, his commercial work, and remember we talked about the service area? This guy does not want leads in South Carolina. There's a reason where he's picking very specific locations. So when he's getting his quality results, where do you think it's coming from? Efforts that we did more than a year ago. Now, I always like to joke, I'm not trying to do a self-promotion here, but I always like to say that, there's too many people out there when I go to these programmers and people that like to say that they're marketing experts in this industry. I disagree. There's a lot of smart people out there who know websites or know their individual topics of email marketing, paid advertising, Facebook advertising, but they don't understand the industry and they'll never admit it. So I like to show people what's good enough for the goose is good enough for the gander, or don't lead at all. And remind you, SEO is just sprinkling on top of a much bigger topic pertaining to the unique content. So SEO is not a marketing strategy. It's a tool on how to implement marketing, but it's not a strategy by itself. If you go to Research Me, you will see when you're going for My Online Toolbox, you're going to find very specific things coming up by the search engines. And it's not just that I'm a magician. It's because I've done things strategically to be found in a very specific way, both on my website, both with even my YouTube, and both with my Facebook. In this case, that's what I target to generate business for our company. There's very simplistic, strategic ways to make sure that your image is controlled and presented in just the right way you want to be found when somebody decides to look at you for the first time. So now, continuing on, let's continue with the examples of SEO and further explaining. Picture, picture, picture. I see way too many people having these beautiful images being utilized incorrectly. The way I guided you up in the top left-hand corner to always, go to a tab to be able to see what the page is about, we also want to be able to see what the pictures are about. So instead of you looking at something and going, ooh, ah, which is easy to do, what I always tell people to do is use your right mouse button, and there's going to be an inspect feature that shows up. And what I really care about before I look at a picture is how are the search engines beginning to understand what this is? In this particular case, it's a Bonita Springs, Florida kitchen remodel. And there's a little bit more there. I'm just going quick. But you would not believe how many people leave it blank or how many people do it wrong. But if you go to do searches in general, your company, your business is a visual business. repetitively, there's a before-after image of what you do before you show up. I'm sorry, what things look like before you show up and what occurs after you're done. Why not have those images helping you generate future business in a very specific way? Case in point, if you make a car, the question is, the word car, it's a very simplistic word. But if somebody goes to look for a car, are we looking for a Kia? Are we looking for a Lexus? Or are we looking for a Lamborghini? You could bet the Lamborghini dealership does not want somebody who's saying the word car and looking for a Kia showing up to their showroom. Take a step back, look at yourself that way, and say, with all these beautiful images you have, are you saving them the correct way to generate business that will equal that level of quality going forward? Or did you just spend a ton of money to get beautiful pictures, throw it on your website, and have your family and everybody else tell you how good it looks, but then you never generate any future business benefiting from this hard work? Same thing goes with videos. If you happen to take a video of a particular project, let's make sure you title it correctly. Why? A video titled incorrectly, you'll get your little 5, 10, 20 views over the next year. Usually half of them are from friends and family giving you a thumbs up. But what I'm referring to is the people who don't know you, who go to search on a topic, and they happen to be video freaks, and they're looking to learn based on work you've done. Keep in mind the title of a video is equally as important as the title of an individual web page. So that gives you 3 little quick topics pertaining to videos, pictures, and the titling of individual web pages. And I like to always joke and tell people, and not joke, but emphasize content is king. So what's second? What's queen? And I'll tell you how critical this is. Social engagement is queen. What do I mean by that? Well, people love to post on Facebook, and too many people post stuff that makes me cringe. What I care about is when people post, do you post correctly? And I don't mean that you think it's correct or other people you know say it's correct. What I'm referring to is the people that are connected to you, that are doing something and saying, hey, that's cool. Oh, my God, I love it. And also, are they sharing it on the right-hand side? This type of activity, this one post, generated more than 40 reactions from existing customers. But keep in mind, those existing customers are connected to friends and neighbors, and that is what will help you generate friend of friend or friend of neighbor referral selling. Don't just post happy Friday, enjoy your vacation, enjoy the holidays, whatever, because why? Don't take it personal. It's a waste of time. I'm a busy guy. Everybody listening is a busy person, and the last thing I need to do is have 20 past vendors telling me to enjoy my weekend. It's not even cute. And if you have nothing to say nothing at all and wait till you have something good to say, and people will continue to follow you. But if you're sitting there with this self-imposed goal to be posting once a week, even when you have nothing to say, trust me, over time, people will not be paying attention to, or they will even worse, unfollow you, and you'll never get their attention again. Same thing goes with reviews. Reviews. When you're speaking, you're selling. When your customers are telling the world that you do a good job, you have validation. So in this particular case, here's a customer, and actually it's done very, very well, because for those of you who don't know the New York area, it's very weird in how the territories are. And this person happens to have an overlapping territory between the New York City, New Jersey border and more towards upstate New York, but it covers exactly where they want to go. That did not happen by magic. Same thing goes with the Google reviews. Getting the Google reviews is the first step, and they got them. It looks crisp. Here, to make a point, when you search about localized rankings by Google, responding to reviews is the second step. Why? Because Google, as well as the other search engines, feel that if you're willing to take a moment to say thank you when somebody's happy, there's a good chance that you're also going to turn into a complaint. Keep in mind, search engines are never working for you. And I have to repeat that and take a breath. I usually don't take a breath, Mark, but forgive me. This is where I take a breath, is that the search engines looking to help you. What they're looking to do is help the person searching find the answer that they're looking for. So if you set yourself up to be able to think that way, in this particular case, when somebody's looking for a remodeler, Are they looking for a remodeler who says they're the best on the planet and maybe does a good job of doing so? Or are they looking for a remodeler who shows a good show, is organized well, and happens to have some companies that or customers that are saying, hey, this is a good company? In this particular case, and I just want to make a point, it's real. It might change by the time they see this video, but here's a company that's not doing the right thing temporarily. Why? Their last 2 reviews, which were great, have not been responded to. So what I did was, instead of showing you that the world is perfect with all my clients, I just wanted to make a point to show when I took this good customer who's doing ridiculously well and very busy, which is probably why they haven't responded. I just went and looked down and said, wait a second, they're not following the My Online Toolbox rules. It doesn't mean they're doing terrible, but they are getting the reviews. And then I scrolled down and I realized it's been some time since they logged into their Google My Business account to then respond to reviews that were more than a year ago. So the world's not perfect, but at least they got the reviews, and eventually they're going to respond to the reviews. Responding to the reviews shows the search engines that you care about customer opinions, both positive and negative. I know we all would love to project the world that everything is positive. That's far from the fact for anybody. There's no one that has not had a problem. So what you want to do, if you get a negative review, don't go crazy on the person, even if they're wrong. Take a step back and try to think about somebody else looking at you in the future and saying, wow, when something goes wrong, does this guy or girl go crazy and curse and yell and scream and tell the world I'm a bad person? Or do you try to answer in a way that diplomatically shows that you're looking to solve problems when they do occur? Now, how do we measure results? Well, the biggest thing is, if you're only dealing with an SEO person, I could tell you this: you will get monthly or quarterly reports that will put you into what I like to call analysis paralysis. I could easily create 5, 10, 20 different reports that are usually automatically generated and have us sitting talking about all of them indefinitely. And in SEO, to be fair, probably the vast majority of those reports are valid. But here's the problem, folks. We only have so much time and money to be able to bill you. The vast majority of contractors only have so much time and money to put towards marketing. So what you need to do is take a step back and find out what really matters, comma, again, what really matters, comma, for you and your competitors. Even me, if you go to study the My Online Toolbox website, and I'm doing very well, and I'm not looking for more business, but there's always something I could do to improve. So I take a step back and say, since I, looking at my own site, know there's many things to improve, but that's just a matter of the way SEO works. What I like to do is take a step back and say, let's make sure you have tangible and intangible results, the things that you could physically touch and see, and the things that you can't see but are making an impact towards generating more business. Case in point, had a particular customer, this is all live and real, it's only a few months old, is a company called Pine Hill Remodeling. They never were in a particular town. And if you look a little bit down where you see where it says kitchen remodeling and bathroom remodeling in Kirkwood, Georgia, if you look, you could see where it says they went up from position 90, they went up 98 positions. That's only because when we were running the reports a few months ago, they were never being found because we were never targeting that particular location. But then what happened was he did a real cool job, and we went crazy in how we marketed it. And we said, going forward, I don't think he's ever going to be number one, because who is in number one in that particular town deserves to be there. But going from non-existent to the number 2 opportunity in a town where you were never found before is a heck of an opportunity for this guy going forward with a one-shot deal. This particular report is a ranking report for keywords on what may happen. And let me repeat, what may happen. You could be position 1 on a particular keyword, but remember, if you happen to be the optimum kitchen remodeler for the state of Mars, I'm just making it up, who cares if you're positioned in 1 if nobody is looking for it? So don't go crazy positioning for things that don't matter. And that's where, when I look at a lot of ranking reports, I'll tell people, are you even trying for this town? Are you even trying for this buzzword? And they'll be like, no, but I'm in position 1. I'm like, who cares? That's an SEO guy just trying to show you that you got to the top. Take a step back and focus in on what matters and constantly protect what matters, and try to also amplify what you're not doing well with on a period of time. Case in point, using this Kirkwood. Same thing going with the guy. This company, Star Construction, is actually the oldest client of mine that took, unfortunately, forever to get him online. He's been in business for many, many years, never had a website, never even thought about it because of the word of mouth background. Now he has a site, and this site is only went live December 2018, and the entire report up until February or March was completely blank. He was nowhere on the radar screen in search. Now he's averaging position 1 through position 20, but this was all being non-existent against the competitors for many years. This is planning for what may happen, but then what we want to do is go to the opposite side of Google Analytics to say, well, if we're planning what may happen, let's also have just a few reports to see what really is happening. In this particular case, the client is able to see, wow, I got a lot of free organic search coming my way, but I also have a lot of direct leads coming my way. You know, when you do an email and you guide somebody directly to your site, there's also some paid search, which I know Mark would love to be able to have me show. So I want to make sure people know that that's what Mark wants to talk about at a later time offline, but that's his gig. And then comes social when it comes to Facebook and YouTube, and then referral, where one site is guiding people to your site. This is a very diverse way of seeing how different people are coming in, knowing that the organic is the hardest thing to prepare for. That's anything you see in that pie was from work we did 3 months, 6 months, a year ago. And then, of course, is looking at where do people go when they show up to your front door. And this actually it's funny, it was not intended, but it does benefit Mark. Again, so Mark, I always like to give a plug where I can, is that in this particular case, when I ran the date range up there from January to the end of whatever, I can't even see it. What does it say, Mark?
April 30th.
The date range.
April 30th.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I did a date range, and if you notice, you see how on the bottom that the 8th position says kitchen remodeling? That's the free stuff that's coming in organically, and the contact page too. Everything else above is from paid advertising. So what this customer did was they were moving into the season, and they went probably from not spending any money towards the holiday season in advertising, and then they came out with all guns blazing, spending some money on paid advertising. So when we go to look at their landing pages, all of this happening, the vast majority of the volume is paid advertising, and then we push down the organic advertising. But it's a great way to see the effectiveness of all the different ways that people are finding you. I like to choose between 3 and 5 specific reports. There are 20 easily that I could choose, and my instinct is Mark has a handful of ones that he likes for his side of the paid advertising business. Either way, isolate them, but don't let anybody send you 20 reports because you'll just make yourself busy and not be able to do anything about it.
Brian.
So now, is that good, Mark?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry to kind of jump in there. I just wanted to just highlight something. I mean, it's paid and SEO. It's a match made in heaven, right? And too many people try to, compete them with one another, and it shouldn't be the case, right? Paid. I mean, as you've shown in your report there, that data. Once you're able to identify quickly with paid which keywords are your key drivers, then it does make sense to go and put a strategy into SEO to go and rank for those organically, and I think too many times, like you said, the whole analysis paralysis, there's too many shady marketers out there that are going to try to bombard you with these 20-page reports, as you say, to just kind of confuse you. You don't know what you're looking at. You're ranking for all these key terms and, oh, look, I'm number 1, like you say. And that's a lot of the time, the way the sales pitches are built. These companies who guarantee you number 1 listing. Yeah, it's because they're going after a search term this long that no one else is competing for. And it's super easy to rank for. And it's just, it's a very, it is a shady industry as a whole. There's a lot of people competing, a lot of people making false promises and stuff. So, I mean, this is great. I love that you show this, and underline the fact that these two go so well together. The data you can acquire from one can benefit the other. So great stuff.
And also, Mark, if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of give you a plug, but not in the way you might expect. So bear with me for a second. Since we just happen to have this on the screen, before I get into the critical design strategy, because that does help Mark's type of business independent of how it helps my business too. But when you look at the SEO, and I went back into saying SEO, search engine optimization, there are a lot of things that I help people do, or my company helps people do, to position for marketing as a whole with both things to get for free long term, and it's really not free because obviously they're paying for my education and marketing planning and whoever is the actual website. But then comes the paid side, someone like what Mark's services do at Webrunner. And what's important to realize is that someone like Webrunner really wants to have a customer be perfectly organized to the best that they can be by service, by location, with the About Us, because when they start to create their paid campaigns, there are a specific number of topics relating to this word SEO that are also part of his domain as it relates to his business on how he's going to position to get the click. And if you happen to have a perfect way that he could choose individual landing pages or create his own landing pages because you may be weak or you might have a new website, he needs to understand these topics too. It doesn't mean that the way he's looking at the topics is identical to the way I'm looking at the topics to get the website started, but they are synergistic where when we both understand each other, his results are much, much greater when the contractor also is able to support what I like to call the inbound lead that he's going to generate. And I kind of equate it to, and I know some of these equate, when I say this, it sounds a little bit immature, but I'll do the best I can. He can get a lead for you. I can get a lead for you. We can have it go to your cell phone. But if you sound like a moron on your voice message, guess what? We did our job and you screwed it up. So only technology, right? And so it's a smartphone. But if you just say, yo, it's Tony, you know what to do, beep, that doesn't help me. But if you say, hello, you've reached Tony's Remodeling, we're in the field right now, servicing other clients, please leave a message of the service type and where you're located, and we'll get right back to you. Thank you so much. You just separated yourself by what you do, utilizing the same technology me, Mark, yourself, and your competitors have, but it's how you utilize this. It's the same thing with SEO when it comes to me in my online toolbox and Mark and Webrunner. These are topics we obviously need to master more than you to get the job done, but you could still be appreciative of the topic and support us in how we actually bring that quality traffic your way. So forgive me, Mark, on the deviation, but you just gave me a great way to kind of people understand where you and I are technically just, we might say the SEO. That doesn't mean we compete. We just have a different strategy on how to leverage the buzzword of the letters in order to achieve objectives that kind of collide with each other to help the customer in two different directions.
Absolutely, man. I'm on board. I'm singing your praise there.
Yeah, I figured you would just say thumbs up, but I've had people say, you know, hey, would you work with this guy, Mark? And I'm like, well, yeah, he doesn't compete with me, but he said the word SEO. I go, no, he needs the word SEO in order to accomplish his stuff, which is completely independent of how we're helping people on the organic free stuff. Mm-hmm. And now, after we add the content, the SEO, the social engagement, it's very important for everyone to know that it's the words, this you want to know, it's called responsive web design, that when you look at something online, perhaps you start, on your desktop, you also need to look at the same thing on a tablet, and you also want to be able to look at it on a smartphone. And when a programmer programs a site today, especially a brand new site, they will traditionally be incorporating what's called a responsive web design, which basically means the first word is most important, responsive, which is it changes based on the device being used and the size of that device. Many of you are using outdated websites. And if it's been designed probably more than 5 years ago, you are not responsive and you are simply losing no less than 50% of the search opportunities out there because there's no one listening to this who has not searched for something on their phone. Okay? And so you don't want to wake up and do all this hard work with Brian in My Online Toolbox or Mark and his team at Webrunner and realize that 50% of the results can't make it to you because you don't have an environment that's conducive to where the year 2020 and beyond is going. So take a step back, and if your site looks, I don't know what word to use, I'll just say crappy on a smartphone, just assume that I see it, Mark sees it, and most importantly, the search engines see it, and they're not going to call up and complain. They're just going to bypass you and give it to somebody else. So keep that responsive design as a critical component to how any of your marketing strategies are developed. Now, what not to do with your content. I'm a 99% friendly person, so I kind of come across this way all the time, and I just don't know how to be yelling at my clients. So I'll just use a picture. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy from Full Metal Jacket when he screams at the people, but I'll go back first and I'll be diplomatically correct and tell you, please don't forget what not to do, and I'll talk smooth. And then I will use this, however you want to hear the guy yelling at you, to remember something. All of you contractors, all of you remodelers, new home builders, service providers, you have something in your pocket that's the Willy Wonka golden ticket. You just don't realize it. And what is it? Content. You are a content machine. Your entire life, you wake up in the morning, you change things, you fix problems, you have reviews, you have videos, you have pictures. The problem is the vast majority of you don't know what to do with it. So what do? You give it away to lead generation companies. And I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to get into it, especially on a recording, but there's enough names out there that you say, well, Brian, I got to put my pictures quickly here. I got to give my reviews quickly here. But here's the thing. Take a step back and simply read the little terms and conditions that because you heard the word free, you jumped on board, you hit that little checkbox, and you never read what was going to happen. And when you read this little section, it literally says, thank you for giving me your information. You're giving me a lifelong ability to use it any which way I want and sell it to as many other companies as I want and to generate a lead that may not even come to you. So keep that way in the back of your mind before you start telling me how you use this service and that service, because I'm going to tell you, take a step back and look at the best, most successful people in your business, in your industry. The vast majority of them are no longer relying on a lead service because those lead services are focusing on quantity, period, and not on value and price. So you can go ahead and keep chasing the world and get more smaller deals, or you could slowly and fight for every nickel and dime that people are tire kicking for the cheapest guy on the planet, or you could turn around and say, let me slowly focus in on the better established relationships that I could create with somebody who wants a business person and not somebody who's willing to work for free or even lose money simply because they got a crappy lead. Now, and did I say that okay, Mark? Without being, I have to try to be as diplomatic as possible without it coming across the wrong way.
No, I concur. That's great. It's on point.
But here's another I want to share with them. Again, remember, go to any service provider and just look at where it says, I agree to the user agreement. Click on that and just read it. No one in their right mind would normally do it, but for some reason, contractors just get sucked into it, like going into quicksand and putting a dollar bill right in the middle and say, hey, come grab it. And because it's sitting there, they jump on it because it's, in this case, it's $1. But you guys tend to just give away your hard-earned content to everybody, not realizing it's going to be used against you to sell you advertising for the rest of your life. But let's make believe that you're going to be on that bandwagon. And I can't convince you. I don't go a week, my company doesn't go a week without somebody sending us some, I like to call it a BS email, saying, hey, what do you think about? And it's the same merry-go-round I'm on. Company A, Company B, Company C, Company D as a lead generation company. And I send the same response to everyone. I don't even read the communications. I don't care about the offer because what I do is say, bottom line, before you're in a rush to give away your pictures, your reviews, and everything else about your company, first, let's make sure that if I can't convince you to stop getting away from that addiction, at a minimum, take whatever it is you're going to give away and first ensure that you use it correctly on your own website and social environments before giving it to someone else. Why? Because guess what? The quantity of what you do on your site will be the only leverage I have left, that when you're giving it to people that are smarter than both me and you because of the sheer volume of what they do, they are salivating to get your stuff. And as soon as you hit the enter key, trust me, they're doing it better, leveraging that information than you, me, and most programmers can do. So if you have 10 beautiful pictures and you want to give it away to a website, another service out there, I say take the 5, do the best you can on your website first, do the best you can on your social environments like Facebook second, and after you've done that, then give 1, 2, or 3 away to somebody else, but just know that they're going to do a better job at marketing that same content. So I'd rather you keep in mind, I'll keep repeating it. First for you, second for you on social, third for someone else, but in less volume. And that's the only way that I can compete with it while trying to attempt to pull you off an addiction, kind of like trying to get someone off cigarettes. You just can't. So you keep on fighting with them and saying all the things that they're missing. And so this is my suggestion to consider that if you just refuse to leave a lead gen service, try to slow down your addiction by focusing slowly more on yourself with quality in mind, and then slowly leave that addiction, but still give them something so it makes you feel good, but you give them less on what you're doing for yourself. Now, going back a little bit towards Mark, is that everything I've been talking about is a tremendous amount of free information. Free marketing, excuse me. When you go to do search, always remember there is a mixture of paid advertising and free advertising. But remember, when you talk about paid, there's a lot of different directions to go. Some people may target stuff like Google advertising, and then there might even be Facebook advertising where you take a particular update and you boost that post. Those type of topics are all independent topics. This one here, the first one, is more targeting someone who has really no connection to your business and is kind of searching for words, but in a random search. And then when you're going through the Facebook channel, if you grow your community well enough, someone like Mark or anyone else that you're using is going to have a better result of boosting posts because your community is already connected to you. But keep in mind that these particular topics of paid advertising are supplemental to the other organic or free opportunities out there. And now going back to when I said the best time to plan, I know I show some good stuff. Someone's eventually going to come to my website and see something that it looks really cool, but I must always remind people, anything you see was done because they were planning yesterday to make it happen. None of this stuff happened overnight. Yes, I will take the credit. I'm doing a good job in educating and planning, but I will also always make sure these clients get the compliment that's deserved because they were strategically thinking about it over a period of time and not just looking for a one-hit wonder, whether, again, residential and commercial remodeling, whether new home building, whether being a painter, or whether being a service provider such as window preservation and window restoration. All of them are strategic business people who happen to be doing a particular service. And now, in summary, what I'd like to do is just kind of repeat everything we talked about, that to remind people that the website itself is not marketing, connecting the dots and understanding that the website, Google My Business, Facebook, YouTube, and other elements all make for a successful website. Don't discount that too many developers simply don't understand the industry, but they can be extremely talented in technology, but they simply don't understand the industry. And then always remember, too many of you simply don't know your competition. I don't mean not knowing them in the field and seeing them at a local Dunkin' Donuts. I mean what's going on behind the scenes to help them generate business. Not knowing how they are positioned to generate leads could be a very good pro and a very good con in how you make certain decisions on what to do by simply seeing what other people are doing well and what they're not doing well with. Always remember, you are a potential marketing machine. You're a living, breathing reporter with unique content, with pictures, testimonials, and videos. And remember that you want to be aware that after you accumulate this content, there's a bunch of topics called SEO, search engine optimization, that allows us to position this content to be found for future search opportunities. Never forget, social engagement is critical to validate what you say, and also the word of mouth. The design, to ensure a responsive web design to be everything between a desktop, a tablet, and a smartphone. Be careful how lead generation firms are utilized. look at certain results without having analysis paralysis. Also, remember to consider paid marketing to supplement the organic marketing topics. And I'll repeat, whatever you think you're going to do and look for results in the future, start making sure you're making a decision yesterday. So by the time it matters, there's some time that goes by that allows for the time it just takes for marketing to make an impact to actually bring those leads to your front door. I want to thank you all for listening to me. I definitely want to thank Mark and Webrunner for giving us the opportunity to be part of their academy. And remember, please, that My Online Toolbox is here to help you grow your business with more quality leads, both with marketing and SEO education, with some strategy planning. And again, Mark, thank you so much. I really enjoy what you're doing, and my team enjoys how you're looking to help the community as a whole. And we're going to be here to support you and guide people for the paid side, at least, whenever possible.
Awesome, Brian. That was a fantastic presentation. Really appreciate it. Got a lot of value from that. There's a couple things that really stood out. I like how, you're coaching and training people on how to be very deliberate in how they go about leveraging, the SEO and their websites as being the nucleus of their whole strategy. Another thing too that I think was really cool, a point you made, was the idea of letting your customers do the selling for you. That's huge, because too many people try to, stuff the message down people's throats, and that doesn't work. It comes off a lot better when it's coming from your ideal clients. So, awesome stuff. Thank you very much for your time. Great presentation, and we'll talk again soon.
Bye, Mark. Thank you, everybody.